So yeah, so the Anomaly is finished and Inseparable is finished, and that means that this vlog is also finished. I will be putting The Art of Losing and More Than I Love My Life into another vlog with those two books together. And then hey everybody, so I'm halfway through More Than I Love My Life by David Grossman, translated by Jessica Cohen, and I'm really enjoying this, as I suspected I might. So this is a book about complicated relationships and people who are very complex and have a lot of flaws, and you start off following Raphael and his father, who live on a kibbutz in Israel, and you are also moving a little bit in time between Vera, who marries Raphael's father. They each have one child, Nina, who is Vera's daughter, and then Gili, who is the product of Raphael and Nina. And it's, there's a lot of things in here that are things that I like about stories, that I find interesting. One of them is the idea of being a bad mother. That's a big theme in here, for multiple generations. And then we're also doing a bit of a road trip story, a traveling story, where they're kind of traveling to reveal family history. And both Raphael and Gili are filmmakers, so they're like recording as we go. And you're hearing the story from Gili's perspective because she is writing everything down, and so you know that she's writing it from her perspective as you're listening to the story. So far I really like all the characters, how they're being portrayed. There's a tiny little glitch in one thing that he wrote, the author, in terms of like when girls reach their maximum heights versus when boys do. I think it was just like an oversight on his part a little bit, but it's just a tiny little thing. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of the story. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm halfway now, and I'm hoping to finish this soon before we leave on our trip. So we leave a week from Sunday. So I'm hoping to get through this because it's a library book, and I'd like to get it back to the library before I leave on my summer vacation. I purchased our next read, The Art of Losing, so I'm going to be taking that one with me because there's no way I'm going to get it done before the trip, as I kind of suspected I would not. So really enjoying this, and I will check in again with you when I have finished it. Hi everyone. Okay, so I finished More Than I Love My Life by David Grossman, and this was a really beautiful novel. I think that his ability to lead you through this story, alternating between 4 different characters, but really there's kind of 2 main characters and then 2 sub characters, but you feel a sense of all 4 of them really strongly. And I think it's a story about, catharsis, abandonment, being a bad mom, trauma, how that plays out in a family, and how secrets are detrimental, and like secrets are worse than sometimes the things that actually happen, because they allow people to kind of perpetuate their own assumptions, and they don't allow people to just let go of the past and move on and kind of like try to heal from things. I didn't realize this until the end, but this is actually based on the story of an actual person that David Grossman came to interact with Iva Panach-Nahir, who was a well-known and admired figure in Yugoslavia. So he knew Eva, he chatted with her and her daughter, and he kind of used parts of their story to write this novel, but then embellished different things about the novel as well. So, if I know some people have a hard time with fiction that weaves real life into it, but I mean, I think there are lots of books that were written about Eva. So if you wanted to hear Eva's specific story, you could read a separate book to know like what actually happened to her, and then what are the things that he changed in the story. But to me, it was very well crafted, very compelling. I cared about all the characters. Not to say that I liked them all or wanted or agreed with the things that they did, but just that they had, they really had, I was rooting for them and I wanted a good outcome. And I really enjoyed this. So right now, I think this is my number one. And I have one more book to read. So I will check in with you again when I have gotten halfway through The Art of Losing by Alice Zeniter. Hi everybody. I am just through part one of The Art of Losing by Alice Zeniter, and I thought I would check in 3 times with this novel because there's 3 different parts and it's a pretty long book. So this is set in Algiers, the first part, with a little bit of back and forth between Naima, who seems to be a descendant of Ali, who we are following. It is the post-World War II era in Algeria. Ali was a soldier for the French in World War II and now lives back in his hometown in the mountains, where he has an olive tree farm. And we follow him and his family and the people in the village with him as the village becomes overrun with war. So the French army versus the independence fighters. And what ends up being the case for Ali's family is that they really get caught in the middle of this situation. And I think this is a pretty typical sounding thing that happens to a lot of people, like normal people, day-to-day people, when they are encountering freedom fighters, also can be referred to as terrorists, but by a colonizer such as the French or the British, whoever, who are occupying a land where they feel like they can't win because no matter who they side with, they're going to be the bad guy and caught in the middle and potentially, lose their lives, lose their livelihood, be threatened, so it does a good job, the book, of kind of showing you the 2 sides to that and how there isn't really a way to pick the winning side, no matter which side you pick. The way the story is told is very similar to reading nonfiction. So there's it's very factual, it's very topical, you're following these different occurrences and then you're kind of weaving with the characters throughout their experiences in it, but I wouldn't say that the characterization is super strong, and there's nothing super poetic about the way it's told either, so it's kind of matter of fact, and then you get a little bit of kind of past reflection. So sometimes you'll get a thought or an idea of Naima, who seems to be doing this research in the present, and so you'll kind of get her perspective as you're going through the book. So yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it. I don't think there's anything about it that at this point that has really pulled me in and made me connect with the characters. other than kind of, an interest in learning about the situation. So at this stage, and I'm not halfway, I'm about 155 pages in, I would say that this book is not beating More Than I Love My Life. So yeah, that's where I am right now. I will check in again when I get through part 2 and see if it has changed anything and what I think. Hey everyone. I have finished part 2 of The Art of Losing by Alice Zeniter, and I really enjoyed part 2. You still are following the patriarch of the family, Ali, mostly, but it starts shifting into Hamid's story, the oldest son. And so you're following their journey from Algeria to France, and the camp they're staying in, and then the different kind of communities that they're placed in as immigrants to survive and to integrate into French society. And it's very, very hard and demeaning, and I think that the author does a really good job of describing the conflicts within all the people. So Hamid being very conflicted by, letting go of his Algerian heritage, not feeling Algerian, not feeling accepted in Algerian society, but also not feeling accepted in French society, and that kind of limbo that first generation will feel as they're trying to integrate. And the kind of he says at one point his parents give up on their lives because they're trying to give him everything they have so that he can have a good life. And I think that's really evident in the story, and it's shared very, very well. And then you follow Hamid in a kind of late 1960s Paris as he moves away from the smaller city where his family lives and goes out to Paris with friends and kind of tries to become his own person. And that part is really, really interesting because it's got a lot of layers of, just the general way of becoming and developing identity, but then also the unique way that children of immigrants have to grapple with things that other youth don't. So I really, really liked the second part. It really connected me more with the characters, and Hamid, I would say, is my favorite character in the story. And I think that the book becomes more personal, it becomes deeper, and so I'm wondering if that was a conscious choice by the author to make the first section a bit more removed, and then in the second section, because you've moved into a different culture with a different type of way of being, that transforms the middle part of the book. And now in the third part, we will see how that progresses. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and I think it's coming up in my estimation as I'm reading it, which is always a great thing to have. So I will check in again with you when I have finished part 3 and finished the book. Hey everyone, so I finished The Art of Losing by Alice Zeniter and translated from the French by Wynne, and I really enjoyed this book. Part 2 really brought me in and made me immersed in the characters, and part 3 I think really brought the whole story full circle. So you follow Ali mostly, the patriarch, then Hamid, his son, who's transitioning from Algeria to France, and then Naima in the third part, who is the Hamid's daughter, who is fully French citizen, but is looking for her roots and looking for the history of Algeria that her father was not able to share with her, and how she finds it in a very different way, and how she comes to terms with who she is and her family, and what it means to be from Algeria but not be Algerian. And so it, you know, went through a lot of wonderful different scenarios and ideas about belonging, and how to find that or not find that, or how people accept it or don't accept it. And it just had some beautiful reflections on that idea, and on family, and on listening to others. So like listening to family members telling you different things about the country that they came from, and are you going to believe that? Are you going to find out on your own? So, you know, it's a really important work. And I think that in terms of books about immigrating and books about being, you know, part of a culture, I'm really glad I read this. To me, it just fits into that genre of novel that I really enjoy, novels and nonfiction that talk about this idea, and that bring it to you from different perspectives. So you're always getting different perspectives of this talk every time you read a new novel on this topic. And I just appreciate so much having those perspectives to reflect and to contrast with each other. So I really enjoyed this. Spoiler alert for my rankings video, it didn't beat More Than I Love My Life, but it was really close. And I feel like the three novels that I put at the top for my rankings all cover similar themes in very different ways, and so that was really fun to be able to kind of rate them. I think they are all really well done, and they all stand out in their own way. But yeah, this was a great one, and I'm really glad to have read it. So that concludes the vlogs for the semifinals of the BookTube Prize Translated Fiction for 2022. I will be back again soon with my ranking video to talk you through why I put the books where I did, and I will also be judging for the final round, so you can expect more vlogs coming up at the end of September. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back again soon with another video.